Well, ladies and gentlemen, you will never believe it. Well, maybe you will because you clicked on a link that followed you here and now it's playing an Osmers.com podcast episode. In fact, it's episode number 229 as I refer, as usual, to my notes. We're underway. We're recording. We're going live right now. And it's great news for you because we're in our Osmers Axiom Mini Series and we're on Axiom 14 today. So this is a really exciting time for you, especially because you get to hear all these crazy sayings that I say to my organization and I've said to my boards and all the kind of stuff that I deal in. You get to hear my crazy rantings, and they are in a unified marketized way, I suppose, so that it sounds like it's wisdom. I'm imparting wisdom, not crazy old man antics. That's how you know it's important. So if you want to go to osmers.com/229, you'll be able to see today's show notes and details. And again, I'm introducing Axiom number 14 today. And I went back to one of my favorite backgrounds. If you're watching on video, it's the pineapple with the sunglasses. And it's apropos for this axiom for sure, because that axiom is the juice worth the squeeze? So this is a rhetorical axiom. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Now, I cannot tell you how many times I wondered internally or even aloud this question as I go through a typical week. Is the juice worth the squeeze? And I really want to drive this point home to all you awesomers. It doesn't matter if you're the owner or CEO or manager or line supervisor or just somebody working hard in the organization, right? You're running the forklift, whatever. Every decision that you have in front of you, especially if it requires a lot of investment or a lot of time, I want you to say to yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze? Now, again, this is not some crazy new idea that Steve thought up or a phrase that I invented, but it's a great cultural and intellectual way for you to challenge your priorities and your even your kind of emphasis on a certain idea. Is the juice worth the squeeze? So what does that mean? I mean, just on a kind of a data level, it's like, is this decision worth doing? Is this effort we're putting in going to culminate in something that we later look at back and go, yeah, that time we put in, the money we put in, that had a return on investment, right? So this is another way of saying, is there positive ROI? But I like to twist and turn some of these decisions, because if you walk around going, is there a positive ROI, right? You're just Baxter from accounting constantly annoying me. Baxter, leave me alone, okay? I'm asking myself, is the juice worth the squeeze? I don't need Baxter giving me is there ROI potential in this idea, right? And the reason why it's important, and the reason why it's important to kind of shake it up outside of the Baxter like doldrums, is because you must vibe in your organization and get them to think about their own decision making in terms of prioritization and in terms of resource allocation. So this means when they're spending money on some new project or new piece of equipment or new technology, you have to challenge and say, is the juice worth the squeeze? In fact, that's probably one of the number one CEO questions or boss questions in a meeting. If somebody's putting forward, and by the way, I think anybody in the company who's interested in the company well-being should be able to go, is the juice worth the squeeze, right? Maybe you're asking the CEO. The CEO is going, hey, I got great news. We're rolling out this new HR software and it's going to be great. And somebody goes, is the juice worth the squeeze, right? Amazon, for example, just rolled back a, tens of millions of dollars investment, 3 years of time. They've decided not to roll this new HR system out. I'm not sure the exact reason. I haven't got into the details, but they've put 3 years worth of effort and tens of millions of dollars into this project and countless man hours. And at some point, somebody said, is the juice worth the squeeze here 3 years into it? And they said, no, it's not. So first of all, I'm not criticizing that 3 years. I'm not criticizing the lost man hours or the investment or any of that stuff, because it's all intellectual equity. I am actually applauding them for saying, you know what? The juice, in fact, is not worth the squeeze. We should stop what we're doing right now. And we should be mature enough to say, this didn't work out the way we thought it would. Let's stop. Now, ideally, you're asking this question farther upstream, maybe even at the start of the decision. I'll give you one of my own. Kevin King, my buddy, and I had a little sliver of Germ Shark, and he had some partners, and they were starting the Germ Shark brand, a beautiful brand. He's built a beautiful brand name. But it was around the PPE category, hand sanitizers, wipes, and things like that. And we killed it early on. And up front, we said, is the juice worth a squeeze? And we're like, yeah, it probably is, right? And in the middle, we said, is the juice worth a squeeze? And we're selling massive quantities, and we have back orders, and we can't keep up with the demand. We're like, yeah, probably juice worth a squeeze. And then everything crashed. And we said, is the juice worth a squeeze? And we're like, it doesn't look like it, but maybe, right? And so we extended the runway a little bit and tried to vector and tried to pivot and tried to, come up with new ideas and new alternative ways of kind of reinvigorating the concept. And then we said, is the juice worth the squeeze? And at the end, we're like, probably not, right? It's just not going to work. And it costs real money, right? All of us in that deal lost a lot of money. But we knew the risk and reward scenario going in, and we were mature enough to say, is the juice worth the squeeze along the way? And to be honest with you, not unlike Amazon, we've got sunk costs, we've got lost man hours, we've got plenty of learning, and there's some, intellectual equity nobody can take away from us, but we've all lost money on that deal. But we could have lost more if we're just kind of dumb and never challenge ourselves to say, is the juice worth the squeeze? Now, this is a common refrain for me, and it is something that we do ongoing with businesses, right? Especially small business units that aren't yet towing their own line. We have to say, is the concept enough? Do we need more resources? If so, where are those resources going to come from? Do I have to put money in? Are we going to raise capital? Is there some other way the business can fund itself faster? Or is it just worth the squeeze? Maybe we should just kill it, right? And so this one, it sounds bloody obvious, but I don't think there's enough critical thinking by entrepreneurs and leadership at large, right? It doesn't matter. I have a reasonable sized organization. Every person in my organization has the ability, the right to say, is the juice worth the squeeze? Now, they don't have necessarily the authority or the right to just cancel a project because they didn't understand it or they didn't like it, right? Because we may say, yeah, the juice is worth the squeeze. And here's why. That gives us the opportunity to reset the context. What you'll find in management is the more people understand the why behind the decision instead of just the decision, right? There's a lot of us entrepreneurs, and I count myself among the unwashed masses of terrible managers. We often are just go, why? Because I said so, right? That's certainly how I started my career back in my 20s, but I'm very old now, 51. And I started and was operating my first business when I was still 18. So I've been around the block, and I did terrible management decisions early on. And now I expect to be better, and I should be better. And even though my skills are much higher, I'm still inherently not a good manager because I'm not wired that way, right? There are some people who are wired to be very good managers, and they understand the context and empathy and accountability. All of that is what creates the best people in your organization. It's also what creates the best results throughout your organization, systems, and so on and so forth. So I won't go off too much on a tangent there, but the whole point is everybody in the organization should have the ability to say, is the juice worth the squeeze? And have those conversations about context, about ROI, about whatever the tactical and even strategic ramifications are to answer that question as an organization. Is the juice worth the squeeze, right? And for the video viewers, I've got a beautiful pineapple here. Let me just tell you, that juice is going to be delicious. It will be worth the squeeze. But not all things are, right? Not everything is. And it's okay to push yourself to go, yeah, I think it is. I'm following my guts. I'm collecting 3D decision making. That means data-driven decisions along the way. I'm using the 3D method. But my gut still says it's worth it. So the juice is worth the squeeze at this point. But in fact, we understand that may change over the course of time. So is the juice worth the squeeze for you to listen to this? You tell me. And you know how you do that? You go over to the iTunes or to your favorite podcast place and you leave a review. But I'll tell you, iTunes has the most juice. So share it, like it, leave a review, tell your friends, write your family members. right? Isn't it time you had a family reunion and then just played this podcast to them? Huh? Wouldn't that make a great reunion? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Maybe not in that case. All right. Maybe I took it one step too far. But I am asking you guys, if you're listening, if you're finding value, why not share, subscribe, save, notify, do all the things that you know need to be done. What all the other podcasters tell you to do. And I increasingly am telling you to do, but now I'm begging you to do it. Just do it. It's easy. It won't take you hardly any time. It won't cost you any money. Just do it. This is episode 229, everybody. Awesomers.com/229. It's covering Axiom number 14 out of 26. So we're getting close. This mini series has been gripping. It's kind of like those old dramas in the 80s, like Dynasty and so forth. We're gonna have one, Who Shot JR? That could be a future Axiom. Huh? That's a timely reference for you 80s babies. There are more episodes on the way. I love entrepreneurs. You guys must know that by now. Otherwise, why would I be doing all this? And I only ask that you guys share, subscribe, etc., as I've already covered ad nauseum in this episode. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.